Hello, everyone. I'm Leslie Cornwell with Midwifery Business Consultation. I am very excited to have Katelyn Fusco here, and she has an amazing background with doing a home birth podcast, being a midwife apprentice, being a mom, being a business owner. So I really wanted to get connected with Katelyn and just learn about her services and where her practice is going so we can give inspiration to other birth workers around the country and the world. So Katelyn, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much, Leslie, for having me. This is so exciting. I have really loved learning about you and following along with your journey and having you on the podcast. So I'm excited to be flip positions today. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Katelyn Fusco. I started all of this back quite a while ago, before I had my first daughter, as a student midwife, as an apprentice, as Leslie said. And that just, like once you experience birth, once you attend, especially a home birth for me, it's such an overwhelming experience. And there's such a draw for some people, for me, there was such a massive draw. And so I just delved into that world, loved it so much, had my own daughter. I was an apprentice when I had my first daughter at home. So that was such a fun experience, kind of experiencing birth from both angles at once. So had my first daughter, continued with my apprenticeship for about a year. My midwife moved, and at that time, it was kind of perfect timing for me to just calm down on the apprenticeship, take a step back with my daughter hitting toddlerhood, and whoo, she hit it hard. It was clear that I needed to be sleeping at night. So I took a step back, and then almost immediately, I just missed that connection. I missed the connection with working with mothers, with midwives, the birth community. It's just such a wonderful place. So in September of 2018, I realized that we were missing something. There needed to be some kind of outlet for home birth moms specifically to connect with one another. It's such a niche, it's such a niche choice. Like having a home birth, what do they say? It's like less than 2% of births are outside of the hospital. So these moms, that's one thing I remembered from the practice, was like some of the moms did feel isolated. Their families didn't understand, their friends certainly didn't understand. So I wanted to create kind of a hub for moms to come together, feel supported, encouraged, to gain education. So that's how I created Happy Homebirth Podcast. That launched in January of 2019. And we are now, this past week was episode 85. And that was Madeline Murray, which, Leslie, I know you know Madeline. She's a midwife.
She's amazing.
Oh, she's incredible. So that was fun. She's been my most interviewed person on the podcast. I just love Madeline.
I hope she's doing well after the new baby. Is she feeling good?
Yeah, you gotta check out that podcast.
Okay, I'll listen to it. It's already aired, so perfect. I'll definitely.
Yeah. So that's that's how I started my entrepreneurial side. Like I said, I love birth work, love moms, midwives, and then I like being involved in businessy things, and I've always had kind of an entrepreneurial spirit. I just hadn't figured out how to make it work. And so kind of combining these two passions has just been amazing for me. So the podcast is going strong. And after my second daughter was born in June of last year, I realized that birth could be so different from what I even had experienced the first time. There was so much more presence that I could bring to the experience. And I learned that from all of the amazing mothers that I had interviewed. And so with that being the case, I really wanted to create a childbirth education program for home birth moms specifically. That's not something that that I could find anywhere. I think that some midwives, do their own childbirth education, but something that everyone could access. It's just not out there. And
even just the natural childbirth education, not to interrupt you, but people think, well, take a natural childbirth. They're teaching you how to navigate the hospital setting, teaching you like informed consent and your choices, and the nurse and the care provider and the C-section and the doula. I mean, it's a totally different class doing natural childbirth prep for a hospital. And I think birth center and home are more similar depending on where state you're in. But I think, it's amazing. I'm so excited that you're starting this childbirth education specifically for home birth women.
I'm loving it just because I know it's something that I would have loved. You know, it's something that I wish I would have had. This idea, even some of the best childbirth education programs, I think they're wonderful, and the techniques that they give are phenomenal. But it's kind of a waste of time for moms to sit there and learn all of this hospital information and then not to touch on what they're actually going to be experiencing at all. Like, that stinks. So I just wanted to be able to provide something that covered what childbirth is going to be like in your own home, and those super critical techniques of how to really take control of your birthing experience and how to make the most of it, how to work with your midwife in a way that she wants to work with you. You know, like we know midwives, the beauty of midwifery is the midwifery model of care, the way that midwives are so one-on-one, so individual, and how they want for their clients to be informed. They want for their clients to be the ones making the decisions. They want to play that support role of a client, you know, taking it on and really embracing her birthing experience and her power. And that's what I wanted to provide with this course, was to say, like, hey, this is how you can work. Like, this is how it works. This is how it can be so amazing. Take charge, like, do this thing. And I've gotten some really great feedback from moms and midwives, and it's exciting to see it all coming together.
Well, and I think it's an amazing, like, opportunity. I as being a home birth practice and talking and educating, like setting up a tub at home. You don't have to have that conversation at the hospital, like how to hook up the hose to the faucet. Like, I can see you saving so much time for the midwives repeating these commonly asked questions that are unique at home, like, okay, laboring in your living room versus your bedroom or outside, like things you don't have conversations that are part of a hospital experience. So I'm really excited to see your course and to be able to promote it. And it's just a unique aspect. I mean, having natural, like, it's not like there's a call light that you say, okay, I'm tempted with this alternative options for pain management. Like, you'd have to get in the car, you'd have to to have a real conversation of, like, I was so grateful. I had 3 home births, and my first 10-pound posterior back labor, I think it was that aura that you chose to be a midwife, and we're going to give you the hard one first. But I was at home, and I am so grateful for my midwife and my support, because I truly believe I would have had an epidural in the hospital and I would have ended up with a C-section. I'm very confident of that because of the temptations, or just it's the goods and bads of being in your own home, your guard, the benefits. Like, I'm so excited to see your course and just to talk about the unique perspective of home births in a new light that people haven't really thought about. The midwives talk to their clients about, but that's when they're already established, or even if there's somebody considering a home birth. Like, I could see this being a great tool to take with their family and friends and say, okay, I'm considering a home birth. I haven't called the midwife yet, but can you take this class with me? So maybe there's some frequently asked questions that the families have that you talk about at the consults. How many midwives are going to be like, oh my gosh, Katelyn already talked about this in her class. It's awesome. So yes, I see your class being a next level of empowerment for women.
It's been really great. And I love how you touched on that. There is the first module is really kind of foundations for home birth. I mean, that's what it's called. It's the foundations. And it's really building this understanding of what you are signing onto when you choose to have a home birth. And it's great for getting the partner on board, for getting the family on board. It's full of information that explains, like, well, this is why home birth is a safe option, and this is what you're getting when you are doing this. It also has a lot of resources for choosing your midwife for those who haven't chosen a midwife yet. It's also, I mean, even if you have chosen your midwife, a lot of times it's a good little pat on the back of, like, oh yes, I did a good job with that, you know, like, yeah. So it goes into, it's got a lot of the foundational information, because I don't know where moms are coming in on this journey. You know, some have known forever that they want a home birth, and they know they can give you all 20 reasons why. Others are like, okay, well, I think I might want to do this, and I just don't feel comfortable yet. And this is a really good way to kind of get
or even
them.
The basics. They've never heard of a midwife, but they're like, I don't want a home birth, but I don't know what I want, because they never got exposed to it. Like, there's got to be a different way. If you don't have the right connections or awareness or support, you don't even know it exists, or you have a misperception of what it is. So getting past those stigmas, and I would love to see, I don't know if you're going to add in your foundation, like, stats to reinforce, like, how many people choose home births. It tends to be in the mid-30s, well educated, have more resources. It tends to be the people that did lots of research. Like, people have this mindset that it's the hippies, it's the underground, it's kind of more the secret of society. And it's not the case. It's the women that have had babies before, have done their homework. They're very smart, well educated. they did the research, the evidence. They didn't just say, well, the doctor told me home births aren't safe, and then they left it at that. They questioned, they looked into things, they did the research, and that's what becomes a great parent. So I always give people a pat on the back when they come to a consult, because you're already advocating for yourself, which is huge. So
that, and I feel like, you know, once people come to the consult, it's pretty hard to turn back at that point, you know, like once you meet a midwife, once you've interviewed a midwife, it's like, all right, this is what we're doing.
Well, and when you step foot, like just the realm and the atmosphere, people get so nervous. Like, what if this emergency happens? What if this happens? Like, it's dispelling those fears and giving statistics and giving resources, like educating what supplies you take, what skills you have. Like, I always stress to help people relate, especially when they had a hospital birth. I'm like, those supplies in those drawers in labor and delivery, my bag, right in my car, if you'd like me to bring it in, has those same things. Like, I think of it as the labor and delivery unit comes to you versus you go to it. And so getting people to understand, like, it's not just this kumbaya, I do my own thing and hope everything. I mean, it's a lot of stigmas past and internationally, like getting people to understand, like, home births and midwives are the norm internationally. It's not in the US. So we have to get past our cultural mindset, not a safety issue. And so that's part of, I'm excited about your class to be able to promote it to other families.
And everything you're touching on, I'm like, yeah, now that's in module 3. That's you know, like it is great. And there are podcast episodes that it's kind of fun because I've been able to create the childbirth education program and then have like supporting podcast episodes that I link in each thing. So discussing the cultural aspect of like, how did we get here? How did we get here in the United States where we think home birth is scary and midwives are uneducated? You know, how did we get to this place? So there's a podcast episode about that. Awesome. You know, what happens if something goes wrong? There's a podcast episode. I go into it so in depth in the course. And then I also have this podcast episode where I interview midwives that say like, well, these are the typical things that go wrong and this is how they're handled. Like, you know, it's such a relief factor that you would not get in, like I said, a traditional childbirth education program, because why would they talk about that? You know, it wouldn't make sense. Like we know, it is niche. Home birth is only chosen by a small amount of people. So why would they talk about that in a childbirth education program where the vast majority are going to the hospital? So we do need something that goes over these things that could feel concerning to a mother who has chosen this path. She needs to be supported with the correct information, you know, that relates to what she's doing.
Yeah, well, and I think it's amazing just to support back to you, like you've evolved. Well, I was a midwife apprentice and then I want to support women. And part of my passion starting midwifery business consultation is to stress, like, you evolve through life experiences, your values, your core beliefs don't really change much, but how you're approached. Like, I started out, I'm like 16, I'm going to be a midwife, I'm going to do home births, and I still do them a little bit, but I found with time supporting women has always been my end game, women empowerment, but it's shifted to that level of, oh my gosh, I can do it at a larger scale. I can help systems. I can help them start their own midwifery practices. And so I think it's amazing how you shifted to, okay, I was a midwife apprentice and then I needed to create a different lifestyle for my family at this point in my life. You may always go back to it, but to know that you took your passion and drive and evolved it into something you probably never would have thought of a few years ago.
Oh, for sure. And touching on that subject that you just touched on, you know, you kind of have like gone to this different level of like, oh, if I support midwives, I'm supporting women-owned businesses right there. And there's this trickle-down effect of like, now I'm supporting all of these mothers too. There's something really exciting about that. And since I've worked so closely with midwives, since I still, you know, that's a goal that I have eventually once my kids are a little older to go back to midwifery in some way. I love midwives. I love what they do for families. I love what they've done for my family, for me. And to be able to support them is another one of my goals. So with Happy Homebirth Academy, that's been kind of the plan all along, is support midwives and support mothers. Midwives need a childbirth education program that they are just like, yeah, this is the one, done, go take it. I know you are going to feel empowered and educated. And I know that you've got the information to have a great birth, you know? So that's one of the big things for me is to support both mother and midwife. Of course, you know, because I love them both and we need them both.
Yeah. So that goes into the next aspect. So your course starts September 9th, and I'm really excited about seeing it and looking at the content and promoting it. But I think the really cool creative spin that you put on this course that'll be coming out in a couple months once you get it fine-tuned is the passive income side for birth workers, for midwives. The referral program you want to create with this, I think, is awesome. I'm a huge advocate of passive incomes, helping midwives. They're already doing the referrals, they're already doing the recommendations. If they can get a kickback from it that now can help support their business or little side hobbies, I'm really excited to hear about this aspect of your childbirth courses.
I am so excited about it too, because like I just said, it's all about supporting moms and midwives. And so one of the things that I know about midwives is it's a tough job. You know, it's a tough gig. There's no question about it. There's a lot of stress. And sometimes I've seen some of the midwives that I know and love taking on more and more and more and more clients because they need to, just, you know, to make the correct amount of money that's going to get everything, you know, staying stable.
Cover their overhead and make the profit margin work. Mm-hmm.
And so this idea of, wow, what if I can create a program that allows midwives to get not just like, oh, here's $15. No, a good chunk of income from each person that they refer to this program that they would refer anyway because they support it and appreciate the information. Like, why would I not make this work? It's such an exciting idea, because then now midwives can maybe have like, oh, I've got this little extra padding coming in from these clients, and maybe I don't have to overextend myself. Maybe I can take a break. Like maybe I can, you know, have one less client this month. Even if you want to serve these people, you know, we know that burnout is a real thing. We know that what's the average midwifery career?
The latest stat I saw was about 7-year turnover. Yeah, it's pretty disgusting for healthcare workers. I don't think there's any specific stats for midwives, but the closest for healthcare workers is 7 years. And that's, you and I are very consistent on that model. And a lot of the people we connect with and I talk with, it's like, I think there's 1% to 2% not because of demand. I think it's the lack of access to the resources. It's the midwifery burnout. It's the entrepreneurial mindset. So if we can educate, we can give support in these opportunities. Like, passive income. I'm a huge fan of different directions of passive income. So if we can promote, you're already going to recommend an amazing product. Why can't we create a win-win that now you're going to get some benefit out of that? That's awesome.
Exactly. And that is definitely the goal with this. So I do hope that the midwives that are watching this will stay tuned in. And I mean, you can email me directly to ask for more information at Katelyn.
Yeah, and we'll put it at the bottom of the link to your contact information.
Perfect. Yeah. And that way we can stay in touch, and this is going to evolve some over time. I've already launched the course once before, and I've had both midwives and mothers take it. And I'm just so excited about the results. So I do feel a lot more confident going into it. I'm like reworking some of the things just to make it, you know, even more exciting. like for example, one of the things was I didn't have my face in most of the videos with I just had the slideshow, and now this time I'm just redoing it with my face. Because my face is so great.
Well, I think we evolve as we make products. Like, I think so many people are afraid, well, I don't have it perfect initially, so I'm not going to launch. I'm not going to do anything. Like, get it out there, take action, and then tweak and adjust it as you get feedback. And I think it's that momentum of nothing is going to be perfect. You're going to evolve. You're going to grow. This mind shift that mistakes are a failure and you're bad. I'm like, I want to make more mistakes. I'm like, the faster I make a mistake, the faster I'll learn from it, the more successful. It's a mind shift. It's so yes, we could have a whole talk about, so I think it's awesome. You tested it, you did some trials, you tweaked, adjusted, you're going to have a better product because of that.
It's super exciting. So so September 9th is when it comes out, and I just cannot wait to be serving, you know, just as many people as possible. I'm super excited, and I just, I can't wait.
So for the content, can you break down what you said? I know we pulled it here and there. What is all going to be in this childbirth education?
Yeah. So, okay, there is, like I said, module 1 is kind of like our foundations. So we're talking about why you're choosing home birth, how to choose a midwife, safety studies, and I really go into the safety aspect just because I know that, you know, a lot of times that's one of the biggest issues, not only for the mother, but for their family members, the outside family members. We talk about how to deal with other people's opinions. And then one of the things that I'm really adding into this second launch is more information on the partner. So there's going to be an entire, there are going to be lessons dedicated to communicating with your partner how to really do this together and how to both feel supported and excited about this home birth experience. I think that is something that is actually missing from a lot of childbirth education programs. And so we know how important that is for home birth. So that's going to be a big focus. Then we go to the next module is all about the stages of labor. So I really break down exactly what happens. I feel like knowing what is happening physically to your body and your baby, that alone can take away so much fear that we have, knowing this is normal. This is what I'm going to be experiencing. This is how they're working together. The cardinal movements of birth. I tried to figure out okay, what childbirth educations have that? Really not many. We need to know what is happening in our body so that it's not scary.
Well, I think it's crazy in our culture that we have so much confidence, how to grow this baby. We never question, oh my gosh, is your placenta actually going to be a good placenta? Or we have no questions of growing our babies. We're still working on the feeding our babies part. I have to admit to that. But the birthing our babies is such a, oh my gosh, your body can't do it. Your body knew how to grow this baby comfortably for 9 months. We check on you here and there for 5-10 minutes in the doctor's office, make sure their basic assessments. But then when we get to birth, we have to continuous monitor. We have to do everything. And I get there is more that can happen, but it's still a very long established process that our bodies have done for a very long time. So getting that mind shift confidence is just massive for women and empowering and getting them to think, oh my gosh, yeah, it's a cultural thing. I don't ever get questioned are you growing your baby okay today? It's not, we don't have those conversations, but when you're in labor, is everything going okay? It's this big shift. It's a very exciting event, but there's so much drama around birth that some of it is for legit reasons with risk factors, but many times it's not. So yes, right. I'll let you get back.
For the majority. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And so that's why I felt really to dedicate to know what's going on early labor. And also just what are things that people can be doing and expecting during these times. So that's the second module. And then we go into preparing the techniques. And I love this module because it's all about these exciting, fun ways to prepare. It's all about fear clearing, positive affirmations, envisioning your birth. What is your birth going to look like? And really taking the time to just visualize what that could be like. And that once again, there are other childbirth education programs that have tracks to listen to. But this is happening in your home. And you need to be visualizing this in your space. Where are you wanting this to happen? How is it going to go down? So I also have a bunch of tracks that I created that are relaxation technique tracks that are so good to help relax and also visualize what you want to have happen at the same time. So there's a bunch of lessons in there that are all these different techniques to relax and feel positive, clear your fears, all of those important work. It's not just I go through it once and now I'm done. We have activities that you just continue to go through the process. However, whenever you take the course through when you have your baby.
How long do they have access for?
I have decided that access is once you buy the course, you bought the course. Okay. So you have the course for good. Okay. So yeah, that was really important to me. I want people to really, appreciate, to have this, if they've got another baby later, okay, well, you paid for this course, you have this course.
It's a nice refresher. I think it's good. Okay, if you buy it at the beginning of the pregnancy, you can kind of go through it and not feel a time crunch. Okay, I've got to buy it at 36 weeks because I get access for 45 days. It's kind of nice to have lifetime access for services like that.
Exactly. And that's another important thing I do. I know a lot of people say what you should have your childbirth education right at 30 weeks or, whatever, we're towards the end of the pregnancy. There's so much information that we go over that's no, you can use this the entire time. Prenatal nutrition, that is a huge focus. And that's actually the next module is all about prenatal nutrition. And I am a huge believer in true nutrition, not necessarily the standard American guidelines, but Lily Nichols. I know it's funny, when I was creating this course, I surveyed a lot of midwives and asked, resources that they liked. And I will say the number one resource that people recommended was Lily Nichols' Real Food for Pregnancy book. And it is amazing. If you haven't read it, if any of you that are watching haven't read it, go pick up a copy. It's so good. But it's all about, truly eating nutrient-dense foods and how to do that in a way that's not just like, ugh, like I don't want to eat this, So we talked a lot about prenatal nutrition in that module. The next module is prenatal preparation, like bodily preparation and what that looks like. So a lot about the pelvic floor. That is something that I feel is so important, is to understand your pelvic floor and to understand how to relax it. So we talk about that. We talk about prenatal exercise and what that looks like for different situations and for different moms, and how that is not a one size fits all type thing. And then we go into preparing your heart and home. And that's all about, that's the fun, like super heavy home birth, that's like talking about physiological birth. What is physiological birth? How do we support this process? How do we just let oxytocin just like flow through us, so strong? How do we set up our space? And then that's when I talk about, what your midwife is going to be bringing to your birth. And that's when I talk about like what it looks like to work with your midwife in the birthing situation. We also go over the questions of like, well, what if something goes wrong there in that module? We talk about hospital transports and why they happen. Then, we go over the reasons of how, like, most of the time it's not an emergency. And then we talk about birth plans. All of that kind of stuff is all in the preparing your heart, preparing your home. And then there is a module that is all about postpartum, because holy moly, do we need help with postpartum? Just as a society, do we ever need help with postpartum? So we talk about lying in, we talk about setting boundaries, which is something that I super needed help with my first. Just things that sometimes we get caught up even in this home birth world of, the end of the race is the birth. You have your baby, that's the end of the race. Not really. Motherhood is forever, and postpartum, like that critical postpartum period, is intense.
Well, and even just stressing, I'm assuming you do in your classes, stressing the difference between, okay, you deliver in the hospital, you're there for 2 days, the nurses are a call away, and then you leave and all of a sudden do everything. Like, people, that mind shift of the home birth midwives, they're about 2 hours, and then it's you. The next 2 days that you would have been in the hospital, like, there is a different educational piece. There's a lot more time the midwives spend with you, because you have to know what's normal and not normal, and transitions in the babies, the things you would have just hit that call light to ask the nurse to clarify. The first bath's usually done by you because it's not done right away. I mean, there's just a lot of things people don't think about until like the last minute, or right when the baby gets here, like, oh my gosh,
now what?
Don't like what? So yeah, so I'm very excited you're touching base. And like, even the postpartum visits, like, we don't just abandon you. We do a day 1, a day 5, 2 weeks. You actually get a lot more postpartum support with your community-based midwives than you do the hospital. And so there's a lot of benefits. It's not just like you guys are more faster parents and it should be only for established mamas. It's that they're a phone call away. They're doing everything for you. They're doing newborn care the first month of life. They're doing the breastfeeding, the screenings. They're doing all these amazing things. But yeah, it's an educational piece, and classes don't talk about it. So I'm very excited you added a postpartum aspect.
Oh, I think it's so important. And just how to heal postpartum, the diastasis recti issue. So many moms experience that and don't know what to do, and then think like, oh, well, now I just pee when I laugh, or now I just pee when I cough. And that's just what happens when you have a baby. And it's like, oh, we don't have to do that. Like,
if you can demystify some of these common, this is your new norm, like pelvic floor therapy, and like even mental health. Like, there is a difference between depression, baby blues, and psychosis, and acknowledging and not feeling like you're a bad mom because you can't do everything. Like, you are a one woman, and a support system does, like, getting past these myths and misunderstandings for women and what's normal and what's not normal.
Right. Exactly. And so, and that's the course in a nutshell. It's, like I said, it's 7 modules, and like I said, the goal is just to cover what home birth mothers and home birth families really need. So,
okay. Well, definitely send me the links if you want to say audibly, just so if somebody is driving and listening to it, what is the best way to get to your courses? And then we'll put a link at the bottom of the video too.
Yes, sure. So you can go to myhappyhomebirth.com/HHA. So that's Happy Homebirth Academy. So myhappyhomebirth.com/HHA. And then, like I said, if you want to reach out to me specifically about the passive income opportunities, then that's just Katelyn, Katelyn, at myhappyhomebirth.com.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'm very excited. Thank you so much for your time today, Katelyn. It was awesome. Your class is going to boom. I know for a fact. So.
Oh, Leslie, you were the best. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
You too.